Good morning, interwebs. You have crumbs on you. It's like you've been riding in my purse. It is 5:38 and I made it this far in my day, so that's good. I got up at 8 actually because I was kind of stirring and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna get up because I feel awake. And I answered YouTube comments this morning and like puttered on my phone a little, and then it was time to go up to the cafe. I went and I did the things I needed to do. And like once I got there, it really wasn't as bad as it can be, and it actually went really smoothly, and I think that we did a good benefit for the cafe, which is good. And it just helps being honest with people sometimes. Like they were asking, I was just like, you know what? Here's the deal. All things that involve the cafe and the committee and everything seem to apparently be a huge trigger for me and my anxiety, and I just can't, like, for the most part, I just can't do the things. And everyone was very understanding. Because, you know, at first you're like, it causes me major anxiety. Like, oh, yeah. And you're like, no, last night, like, full-blown anxiety attack. And we're like, oh, well, we will try and, like, alleviate those problems. So it is, I think, beneficial to be honest with yourself and the people around you how situations make you feel, even when they make you feel pathetic. But, you know, you gotta try and mitigate them as well as you can. So then I came home, and Steve and the kids were just finishing watching up a English soccer game that was streamed, so they were able to see. And then I took a nap. Like, I was watching a little bit of YouTube, just totally zoned out for a few minutes, and Steve's like, I'm surprised you are still upright. I was like, that is a good point. So I went and laid down, and I took a nap. And then the kids woke up from their nap, and now we're scrambling to get things together for 4-H as far as snacks. My daughter was actually able to make she made some cinnamon sugar pretzels. She did those all by herself, and she actually did most of the no-bake peanut butter bar things by herself. So she just had to help her scrape the peanut butter because, you know, that's a little tricky. So that was good, and actually some good practice. She will probably enter some of those things in the fair now. And we went to make the lemonade, which we're going to make. I'd had her put water in the fridge this morning, so it would be cold. We were going to make, you know, homemade lemonade with the concentrated lemon juice and sugar and whatever, and open it up and realize that I didn't have as much lemon juice as I thought. Like, I knew the one in the fridge was running low, but I thought I had another one in the pantry. Apparently I didn't. So I scrambled and I was like, oh no, what are we gonna do? And then we remembered that we had 3 packets of Kool-Aid. I don't ordinarily buy Kool-Aid. In fact, I didn't buy these. We got them, there's a giant bird flying across the field, but I don't think you could see it if I showed you. Weird. But the, one of the parades last year before, anyways, they threw out, one of the grocery stores threw out packets of Kool-Aid instead of candy, and so we ended up with a bunch of them, and we had 3 left, so we pulled those out. My daughter's making Kool-Aid, and that's kind of an experience for her because we don't drink it very often, and actually the only times we ever make, if I make it, I usually mix it with vodka. So we are not mixing it with vodka today. We're just mixing it with water, and, you know, children, yeah. And so that'll be ready. I just went and we had some paper products in the basement. Went and got them out of the party box. And then in a few minutes here, we'll all be headed off to do that. Like, I'm just taking things one little piece at a time. Then we'll come home, I'll probably take a little break, eat dinner, and then I will deal with my Etsy stuff tonight. So, little pieces, trying to make them manageable, trying to not freak out. Like I told Steve, I was in a much better place when I got home from the cafe than I was last night. Last night was really bad and actually really scary, like how it just all, but today's better. And look our wheat is changing color. Steve did laundry today. That jacket has a lining, so it's still on the line, but look, see how golden the wheat is turning? So a couple more days of sunshine and it'll really get yellow, but it's noticeably drier than it had been. Hello, it is 1:30 in the morning, and my evening has come to an end. Well, I'm not going to sleep quite yet, but it's just winding down, and I thought that I would check in with you while I enjoy my glass of wine. I've already enjoyed way too many of my daughter's no-bake peanut butter bars. They were amazing. So, we went to 4-H, and we actually had a productive 4-H meeting for once. Yay! Though still lots of loose ends, but a lot more, like, you know, took place, which I kind of figured would happen since a lot of the focus of 4-H seems to be very fair-centric, and a lot of the project hubbub seems to be more focused on what you can enter in the fair rather than what you can learn from the project. at least as far as our club is concerned. I don't think that's necessarily true, like, as far as 4-H overall is concerned, especially when we met with the 4-H agent. Clearly, the overarching idea would be that you, like, learn things, but you know how that all goes. Anyways, that went good. We had plenty of snacks. We had plenty of Kool-Aid. And I think some of the kids actually thought it was kind of fun, because, like, Kool-Aid is not, like, a super popular thing. So I totally had a kid ask me, they're like, what is this? I said, it's Kool-Aid. And they said, like, homemade? And I said, like, out of the package, because I don't know that that kid had ever had Kool-Aid that didn't come out of a pouch. Which, again, I think I've told this story before, but maybe I haven't. When Steve and I were living at the resort, we had a friend from high school come to visit, and she brought her boyfriend up. And we had just recently built a custom fit cabinet for our TV because our spacing was weird. The resort was a very small but big place to live. Like, it was just a very tight quarters. The dimensions of rooms were funny. So anyways, us being us, we built a custom cabinet for our TV and all of our electronics and stuff. So they come to visit, and the guy's like, hey, that's cool how your TV just fits in there. And we said, well, yeah, we built it ourselves. And he goes, oh, like from IKEA? And Steve and I were like, no, like from wood. So whenever people go, oh, like homemade? It always makes me think, like from IKEA? But anyways, that's just my funny story for tonight. I am feeling much better. And I have to say that my glass of wine is definitely putting me over that edge to feeling better. And sometimes, I know that's something you should always rely on, but sometimes that is okay. And this is one of those times. And I was feeling better before I had a glass of wine. I have definitely come to the conclusion that if I'm not feeling better, I should not have a glass of wine, because that's just asking for trouble. But went to 4-H, came home, and then, yeah, Mom of the Year award. So we had a bunch of the no-bake peanut butter snacks, because the boys went with me to 4-H because of the timing. And we also had a bunch of the cinnamon sugar pretzels, which were also super delicious and everybody really liked, and they were really, really easy. So that might be something we make more often. But I came home, and everyone was kind of hungry, but not really. So the kids went to play outside, because they hadn't played outside today. Because I guess this morning while I was gone, they just watched soccer with Steve, which is cool. They didn't have to go outside. And they enjoyed watching soccer. They actually had a lot to tell me about the game. They were clearly paying attention, which is good. And then they played outside, and it was getting kind of late, and I wasn't really that hungry, but now I had a pork chop and a gigantic baked potato at the pork chop feed today, and a ton of green beans, which were delicious. Because I don't get canned green beans that often, like store-bought canned green beans. They're like a treat to me, because we only eat the stuff that we can, or usually Steve prefers frozen green beans. So canned green beans are like super, like a candy to me, which is kind of ridiculous. So we're kind of hungry, but I brought home 3 to-go boxes of cake that was left over from the cafe today. Because they kept going, well, you have more mouths to feed. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll take a 3rd box. So I did. I was like, well, the kids were all like, can we have cake for dinner? I'm like, no. So we had cheese and crackers and cake for dinner. And that made everybody happy, because we'd already had the snacks. So everybody was full. Then this evening, after the kids went to bed, I took Etsy photos and made listings. And there's now a bunch of crocheted dolls of various sorts. There are girl dolls wearing like dresses or like shirts and pants looking things. And there are dolls that are boy looking with overalls. And there are dolls that are wildflower babies, and there's one sleepy time baby, and some monkeys, you know, because why not? But yeah, so those are all up, and yeah, it's very weird listing some of the things on Etsy, because I recognize that you have to list things by what people are going to search for. I tend to not like to look at the dolls necessarily as being like straight up gendered. Like when we talk about them in our household, they're not. 'Cause like you could have the ones in overalls can be girls. And I've made some that have the more traditional girl haircuts. I don't have any right now, but if you're interested in one, let me know. But I've made like overall dolls that have longer hair. Also, a lot of like just the messy hair. I use the same hair patterns for the girl dolls and the boy dolls. But you have to list them as something, which just is weird to me because that's just not me by nature. But that is a lot of what I'm learning about selling things, is me by nature is not necessarily the best way to sell things, because I try in my everyday life to avoid being sexist or racist or whatever in my speech patterns, and that's very important to me. I've always lived, well, since I've known of the concept, I try to live by the idea that the personal is political. And so I try to take my political views, not like politics like government, but politics like what you believe in and the policies you think life should be controlled by. And I try to take the political views I hold and live them out in my personal life. Because if you can't do that, then I don't know. It just seems very hypocritical to me. So yeah, that was my rambling for the evening. But yeah, I'm feeling a lot better than I was last night. I'm still a wee bit overwhelmed, but I majorly overcame the last 24 hours, which is an achievement. And I think a lot of it was a conscious effort. I won't say it was a choice, because I have made that conscious effort before and not been able to choose to end up okay on the other side. I have tried to make the conscious choice and ended up feeling more depressed or more overwhelmed or more anxious or just more generally terrible. So I don't think it's fair to say it's a choice. But I made the conscious effort to try to be okay. And I think that is all that you can do on a day-to-day basis. And I am incredibly lucky because I have a family that is supportive of that fact. I also think that it is important to be honest about those facts. And I have been more personally fulfilled as I have been more honest about the ways that I'm feeling with my family. And just accepting that clearly there's some things going on. I mean, clearly with Steve and I, look like there have been things going on our entire relationship, but they have become more pronounced in the last couple of years. And when my anxiety becomes something that cannot be overcome simply, we have to make accommodations to do that. I did go see a doctor who wanted to medicate me, which I am all for people that want to be medicated. I feel extreme anxiety about the concept of being medicated. You want to make me extra anxious, put me on pills for it. That's not how I roll. But the doctor was telling me, and most of what she said I fully agreed with, and her and I have a good rapport. So it's not like one of the doctors where you're just like, ugh, everything you're saying is just not something. But she was commenting that it's not fair to my kids to have to make accommodations for my moods and my feelings. And I don't think that's true. Now, I don't think it's fair to basically be a raving lunatic all the time and expect my kids to put up with that. That's not really fair. But I think it is completely fair to tell your children honestly, today, it's just too much. I can't do it. I'm having one of those spells where I'm not okay. Because you know what? Your kids know you're not okay. There's no hiding it. And lying to them is going to make it worse. But saying, where you're at. And, I mean, they don't need to know all your problems. But just generally being like, today mom's sad. Or today mom just feels like there's too many things. I think gives them information to grow as humans themselves. And when they have those feelings, because hello, all of these things are hereditary. there's a good chance that the same issues I have will somehow show up in my kids. Now, be they genetically or if it's like a nurture thing, I don't know. But there has been proven to be some links, you know, that are not just nurture. So I think giving coping skills to them as soon as I can is good. And I also kind of cling to the belief that they're young and won't necessarily remember the entirety of their childhoods, because I don't remember the entirety of mine. And I'm sure there are lots of things that happened that I don't remember. But that is kind of where I'm at on that. And I think I had more thoughts, and I don't remember them because I went off on a tangent. Anyways, obviously I'm feeling better, Steve would say, because I'm tangential and ranty, and that is usually a good sign for me. So, I'm going to go watch a wee bit more of, trying to get current on watching Finding Simon, who is he lives in his van, and he's a photographer, and he travels all over. Right now he's in North America, like in the US, but he is headed back to Canada, where he's from. And I enjoy watching his videos. They are beautiful, and his music is pleasant, and his view of the world is just kind of neat. So, I'm going to go watch a little bit more of that, trying to get a little more current, finish my wine, hang out for a minute, and then I'm headed to bed. And I will see you all tomorrow. Nighty-night.